Welcome back. You are listening to the Tuttle Group Radio Hour. I'm your host, Andy Tuttle, and here at the holidays, I heard that there's 19 of them in December that are celebrated. That means there's a lot of family in town and a lot of potential stress, not just with the family, but with the shopping and all of the obligations that seem to be there. Because, let's face it, you've neglected your friends and family throughout the year, and now you've got to make it all up to them in just a few presents, and it can cause a lot of stress. So with us today to talk about how to deal with that and some of the grief and stress around the holidays is grief counselor, Miss Veronica Sites. Veronica, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Okay, so happy to have you here.
It's good to be here.
I am very interested that we are talking about this. So first of all, before we get into the holiday stuff, tell us a little bit about you. Where did you start, and what is it like being a grief counselor?
Well, to put it very succinctly, my children used to call me the doom cookie because I deal with the things that people don't want to deal with.
Right.
And the reason is because there's a benefit to doing that. I am very passionate about literally meeting people in places of pain and showing them the way out to find the help and the hope that is in every situation. It doesn't matter how dismal you think it is. There is another perspective.
Right. And you're dealing with, these are serious situations, not holiday stress to put it in perspective, but serious deep pains. You deal with people from all walks of life. What kind of pain and what kind of people are you doing grief counseling for? Like what kind of walks of life? Where are they at when they come to you?
Typically, I am a responder for natural disasters, mass casualties, school shootings, really heavy stuff. And I enjoy being able to meet people for the purpose of understanding that when you're in that place, in that space of not certain where to navigate forward, it's really important to have somebody that's gone through those procedures, protocols, and can point you to the resources and also normalize a very abnormal tragic situation, because what a lot of people do is impose on themselves. They want to go back to normal, and they also impose upon themselves that there is a certain expectation they should meet given the circumstances that are unfamiliar to them. So just helping them normalize under the circumstances you've been through, whatever you're feeling, it is okay.
So you're saying that, and in a very small way, I kind of feel this, like sometimes I feel just guilty if I'm not working enough, etc. You're saying something traumatic happens to them and they feel guilty for not being able to get back to normal so quickly? Is that what you're saying?
Well, no. The desire is to want to get back to normal, which has been shattered. That's common. But the guilt can come from you can be survivor's guilt. It can be, in hindsight, I would have, could have, should have done this. It's all of the expectations that we impose upon ourselves. After a tragedy, there's 24 to 72 hours where the brain is still taking in information. And once the thoughts start to process, that's when an individual starts to have those conversations with themselves and second guessing what they could have done differently, when in actuality, an unpredicted situation demands a response, a reaction. And most people are operating on the lowest level of their informed preparedness.
Right.
So that's more reactive than a responder. That's why I respond. I have a plan, a protocol. I work with agencies, and we know how to help people, take step number 2.
Yeah, and I think a lot of us, including myself, if you haven't been a part of a school shooting or like what just happened in Ohio, it's hard to get perspective on what they go through. Did something in your life inspire you to go help these people that have gone through such traumatic events in their life?
There's a number of things that have inspired me. One, I'm the daughter of a retired police officer. The majority of my family is military and law enforcement. So I became the chaplain and watched, observed, and also recognized how to help along the way. In addition to, I have family members that had been murdered and also committed suicide.
So a lot of pain. That puts you in a position where you wanted to go. You felt that was someone there for you to help you normalize?
At some point, yes, there was.
Right.
But, one of the biggest passions that I have is recognizing that at times there were not those avenues or those mentors to help me through. When I did finally learn that there was a different way and was empowered by counseling and also just having people pour into me the hope and help that I needed, once you find your way out, you want to show other people the way out too.
Yeah, well, that's fantastic. Thank you for doing that work. Hey, you may need a grief counselor right now. You may need someone like Veronica in your life, and maybe she can point you. I don't know if you, since you're a first responder, you may not be the person, but you could connect them to someone if they're going through that. Is that right?
I do a limited amount. I get people stabilized, and then I point them to the resources that it's going to be more long-term therapy.
Yeah, well, if you need somebody like that in your life right now, call us 469-319-0660 at our off-air hotline, or text the same number, 469-319-0660, and we'll at least get you connected and see what Veronica can do to help you or get you on your way or connect you with a person that can help.
Absolutely.
That's fantastic. So let's transition here to the holidays, because to a much lesser degree, we feel like it's a traumatic event and a tragedy in our lives sometimes going through the holidays. And that's one of the things you do too. How do you deal with stress, right? So to kind of bring some levity to that, but to bring some, to make note and not disrespect the fact that there is legitimate stress for people and a lot of anxiety for people around the holidays. Why is there so much stress around that, and how can people better cope with that?
We have a tendency in ourselves, just it's general among most of society, we tend to impose expectations of perfection. We have this ideal, and here's one of the things that we do is we schedule the party, we make the guest list, and then in hindsight, it's like, oh, this person pushes that person's buttons. What am I going to do? Right. And then we turn our attention to, are the plates perfect? Does everything match? Is the food all going to be hot? We focus on things that really, when the party is planned, it's about the people. And we forget to do that.
So that's one good tip. One, the party is about the people. So let's not worry about the food so much. Have a good time. Now, if the turkey's dry, just pour extra gravy on it. That's what I do. So what else? What are some good tactics and tips that people can take into the holidays to help them have a more stress-free season?
Recognize that the control that you have available to you is self-control. You can't control every element around you, and specifically, you can't control how other people are going to engage. Set the stage by recognizing that it's okay to limit times with difficult people. It's also okay to set the stage by saying, this time, this year, with these guests, we're going to build people up. Whatever the history may have been, today is a new day, new time with, a new guest list. It might be the same people, but focus on the fact that today is the day that you make decisions for a legacy, not bring up the history of all of the stress that is now feeding your mind and fueling the possibility of things going wrong.
So I like that, but let's, all the movies are about, it's not you, it's Aunt Jen that comes over and decides that she is going to bring up this issue and not let it go. And she's going to bring it up at dinner and around this and just keep biting at you. So are there any tactics to help you in those moments?
There is. Laser focus on Aunt Jenny is going to be Aunt Jenny. You can't change her. What can you do today with this meal and Aunt Jenny that will be different for the peace that you bring to the situation? Because when we are stressed out and we allow, this is what we do so neglectfully, and we do it subconsciously. We give up mental real estate. We let people move in to where it disrupts our peace. It fuels our anxiety. But if we can recognize Aunt Jenny, she's been that way for a long time. And I can make suggestions. However, there's a behavior that happens between people called mirroring. If I choose differently and I engage differently with Aunt Jenny, it disarms Aunt Jenny because she doesn't know what to do with the difference. Therefore, I've presented an opportunity for Aunt Jenny to ask what's going on, and then I can advocate for the situation and say, you know what, Aunt Jenny, this year, this time, this is not going to get to me.
We're going to diffuse the situation. We're going to take a breath. and we're going to open some presents or eat some more cake or whatever it is that we do, but we are not going to engage.
Kill her with kindness.
Kill her with kindness. The old rules still work. Now, there's also some stress, and maybe it's the same stress, but, there's a lot of stress about getting the right gift for people and making sure that it means, it's perfect, and then getting all the shopping done, and it just gets people up in a lot of anxiety, and a lot of that's fueled by the media telling you that all of these things to get. But are there any tactics to help you in the shopping season with that aspect of what you're doing and all the stress that seems to come with that?
Yes, keep in perspective that the gift you give is from your heart and you've wrapped it and you're giving it. Place no expectations of how it will be received, and also do not attach any concept of you being rejected or accepted by how that gift is either received or, elated about, or kind of like, I remember I had a nephew one time that I thought it was the coolest ball. He opened it up and it was just bright and colorful, and he looked at it and he's like, it's a ball. And I'm just like deflated all the way around. I thought, well, you know what? It was a pretty cool gift, because what he didn't know was it turned inside out and it was Shamu.
Ooh.
So it was cool, but he didn't know how cool it was. It took a little bit of time of unpacking it. So when we recognize that when you wrap that package, don't wrap your emotions in there and think that it's anyway tied to whether you are loved, accepted, or potentially rejected if your gift is just set aside really quick.
Great tips. Luckily, my boy is still at an age where he likes balls. So he's like, yeah, it's amazing. I've given you this ball like 10 times, man. Yeah, it's awesome. Let's kick it. Cool. So I still have that. But for those of you that don't, these are great tips. One, take a breath. Don't wrap your emotions up with the gift. I like that one. Set no expectations on how they're going to respond to you. And remember to kill Aunt Jenny with kindness, not the carving knife. This is not acceptable. No chasing anyone around. We are going to be very kind and diffuse the situation. Veronica, any final words?
Well, I'd like to encourage people just to recognize that the peace that you have, peace on earth begins with peace in you.
Perfect. I love it. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.